like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down.
All right, here we are, folks.
Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it away. Tonight we gonna let it away. Tonight we gonna let it away. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it away.
Welcome back once again. This is Chris Report, and he assured me that since Simon's down in Boulders, folks, this is Chris Wyatt reporting from South Africa. I see danger in your eyes. Robin Houston, Light It Up right there. A theme song for the opening of the program. Light It Up, Robin Houston. I see danger in your eyes. And before that was, of course, the Singing Cowboy. That's right. Dean Chancey with God Bless the RSA. God bless South Africa. Welcome back to the program, folks, at a special broadcast time, 7:45 Eastern Standard Time here in the U.S. and 2:45 in South Africa. Out there, let's see how Alter Bridge deals with this. A little bit earlier for him, at only 8:45 for him in the evening. He's probably going, what are you doing up so early? Well, folks, welcome back to the program. Once again, as I've announced a few days back, I have events I'm involved with at the moment that preclude me from broadcasting during the day. So my options are to not bring you any broadcast or to do the news earlier in the day. Now, this remains a sacrifice for me. I actually need to be somewhere else at this moment, but I'm sacrificing something that's important to me personally so that I can bring you the news. I hope people appreciate that, and I apologize to anybody who prefers to have the news later, but it's either this or nothing for the moment. And again, I'm making a personal sacrifice to do this, so I do hope you appreciate that. Some people find this time easier to tune in, others don't. It's during the workday, so I do appreciate where you're coming from. But let's say hello to everybody in the chat, and then we'll get to the news. Some big news out of South Africa, which is proving Chris Wyatt, the political analyst, to be correct. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the African National Congress dipping below 40% in nationwide polls. This is what I predicted. I said the ANC would get not more than 42% and is likely to poll just 38% in this year's elections. And I said that at the municipal elections. I'm the only analyst on the entire frickin' planet who made that claim. Now, let's see if it comes true. I hope I'm right. It'd be so great to crow about that for years on end about how I got it right. But I looked at a number of factors and I made the conclusion that the ANC would not. And that was before we had all of this load shedding back in 2021 when I made this announcement. So let's see if it holds true. Let's see if it holds true. But I'm excited about this latest poll. I'm a little disappointed that I got one part incorrect. I said that the EFF would not eclipse 15% nationwide. There aren't that many stupid morons in South Africa, but apparently there are a lot of stupid morons in South Africa, just like in America and all around the world, as they are polling higher than 15% in this latest poll. We'll get to that shortly. Hello to Monray Sieberts, all the way from Cape Town. Carl Nyhorst with the EFF had to close due to heavy EFF presence. Wow. Well, Carl Nyhorst, he's just a charlatan. People like that change their colors, these chameleons, all the time, you can't trust them. I have been a political conservative since birth. I've been a political conservative since I became aware of politics in junior high school with civics. Always believed in the Constitution and always believed in basic human rights that are guaranteed by our Constitution. So I have never changed my colors. I have not changed my standards. There was a period of time in the political world in which I was not a member of a political party. That was while I was a commissioned officer on active duty. But that wasn't because I didn't have an affinity for one party or the other. It was because I felt, following the example of Colin Powell, that revealing your political party affiliation as a leader in uniform was inappropriate. It's not illegal, it's not immoral, but he felt it was inappropriate, and I agreed with him back at a time when I respected Colin Powell before he proved to be a New World Order neocon. But I chose that position, and throughout my time as a commissioned officer was not registered with a political party. Therefore, I was a registered independent for the bulk of my adult life, even though my sympathies remained with the conservative side of the political spectrum. Anyway, there you have it. Interest of full disclosure. Now, a lady says, this is the first for me. I normally tune in the Colonel in the evenings, but I've just watched the UK's PMOs and I'm crapping. PMQs. What are the PMQs? Please share with me, now, lady, what we're talking about. You're seething. Please tell me about that. I saw no news in the United Kingdom. What just broke? Philip says, Philip Meekerk, Julius Malema idol, Joseph Goebbels taught him, well, yeah, no doubt. No, I think that Joseph Goebbels' evil offspring is Jen Psaki and what's her name? Karine Jean-Pierre. Those are his evil offspring. Those are his great-grandkids. Val Cooper, welcome to you. And Twitter's on fire this morning over Malema and the ANC. Okay, I didn't see that, lady. Thank you. I haven't gone on to Twitter because you get into Twitter, you wind up in a deep, 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 deep hole. And I didn't have time for that as I prepped for the news this morning. Yeah, it's only 19 degrees in my house today, a little bit cooler. That's Celsius, by the way, not Fahrenheit. Otherwise, my teeth would be chattering. Today is the 7th of February, 2024. January is done and dusted, and we're already a third of the way through February. Hey, but good news for those of you keeping up with my solar situation. I set a record yesterday. Well, I didn't. The panels on my roof set a record yesterday with 31 for the wintertime. This is incredible. That's 4 straight days of sunshine. Looks like we might have a 5th straight day here in central Pennsylvania. And yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, can you believe this? 31 kilowatt hours. 31. That's awesome. With just 8 kilowatts of output, 31 kilowatt hours. That is just incredible. Some good stuff right there yesterday. It's 4 days in a row with 29 or more kilowatts. Now, I know. Come on, Chris. Quit being such a geek. But I love this. This is incredible. Not because I'm a greenie. That's not the case. I'm a conservationist. But I love this because when a plan comes together, gets executed efficiently, you've got to love the outcome. All right. So Gabrielle is here from the Schweiz. How's it going there? John Huchin in from Arizona. Wow, John, it's early for you. And Rod Lofeld, Teresa's here. John Jarvis says, is this the norm going forward, or will you revert? No, John, this is not the norm going forward. As I've mentioned several times, you may have missed it. Hey, John, you may have missed it on my previous broadcast that I'm only doing this because I've got something going on right now that requires my attention. And trust me, it's physically exhausting and it's time consuming. And in the wintertime, when daylight disappears, it has to be done before darkness. So you try to guess what that is. I will reveal in due course. But at the moment, I have to focus on the task at hand. But I do feel an obligation to my loyal audience to do news broadcast. And therefore, I'm up before the sun rises, researching and getting ready to do the news. So there you go. Thank you for those of you who are here watching. And I do appreciate it. Be sure to hit the like button. We've got 20 likes and 38 concurrent viewers. I didn't advertise this stream at all, so I would ask my moderators to go out and put it in all the groups. I didn't. I just put it in the mod group so the mods would know about it because I did not have time. I would appreciate that. Gabrielle said it's nearly 2 p.m. in Switzerland. Christine Ehlers is here. Welcome, Christine. Welcome again. Vilma Erasmus, hello to you. And Flesh and in from the 15-minute city of Oxford. That's right. Welcome. Tony Nage is in from Alberta. Hey, Tony. Jonathan DT says, greetings from the occupied state of South Africa. Indeed. Does poll take an MK party? I don't know, Rod. We'll have to. I didn't look that deeply. I don't consider them a real party. I think they're just going to get no attention there. Now, lady says UK every Wednesday Prime Minister's Questions. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, I used to watch that on public broadcast. It's funny, Prime Minister's Questions. Rishi Sunak versus Starmer. I didn't see that. Okay, minus 8 degrees Celsius at nearly 6 a.m. in Alberta. That's a little chilly up there. All right, at least 32 degrees in Pretoria. Yeah, Christine, it's a bit hotter the other direction, Southern Hemisphere. Andreo Fick, welcome to you. And Sunak versus Stammer. Okay, all right. I'll have to check that out. Pierre Orban is back, the substitute leader for the Republic of Hungary. Pierre. Kobus van Niekerk is here. And Tony says, works for me this time. Oh, well, Tony, that's great, but we'll see how it goes. But this is a temporary thing right now. Okay, the Prime Minister's questions. Yeah, no, I know about that, Keith. I'm very familiar with it. It was a top feature on public broadcasting here in the United States. I used to really get a kick out of it. This is back before American politics was quite as toxic as it is now. It was interesting to see it. Ken Aaronson's here. Waited for 3, but CI was still late. Huh? Okay. And took some man to the cleaners. I had no idea what that's all about. What did Christine do? What did Christine do? Oh, I missed something Christine said. Okay, what's this, Morning Shot? The poll got ripped to pieces on Morning Shot this morning. That's their opinion, which I have time for. Okay, John Jarvis, care to share with the crowd? I don't know anything about them being live. They claim they're going live now, which is probably one reason why my audience has been smaller. But what did they rip apart in the poll? And how did they rip apart it? They rip apart the methodology of it. Again, whatever that poll says and whatever any poll says right now, I am sticking to my assessment that the African National Congress will poll no higher than 42% in a free and fair election in South Africa in 2024, a prediction that I made in November of 2021. Now, I said they could dip as low as 38%. I hoped they'd go to 35 or 33. That's hope. That's not science. That's not analysis. The analysis was 42, peak 38, the low. So let's see. All right. That has nothing to do with the Ipsos poll. That was my projection. 4 degrees Celsius, says Fleshin. Okay, so a little bit warmer. Yesterday on that platform, some other platform, Christine must have said, okay, I have no idea what happened. I'm sorry. I missed it. Oh, you sued your employer for discrimination. Is that what it was all about? Well, I hope you won. Hope you won if you're discriminated against. That's pretty awesome. Defeat somebody who discriminates against you. And what is Andreo's laughing about something? Apparently there's an inside joke that I'm not in on, so let's not focus on it. Let's get to the news because you guys are keeping me in the dark here with your comments. Fair enough. A heat wave is hitting South Africa. Ooh, and it's not the ANC. A heat wave is hitting South Africa and affecting people all over the country. This reported News 24 today. Temperatures soaring in a number of different provinces. South African Weather Service has issued an alert for a heat wave affecting parts of Gauteng, Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Northwest, and the Free State. Large parts of KZN will also experience high temperatures today. Well, the day's midday out there, South Africa, so how's it going? 38 degrees in Ilundi. Ooh, in Vryheid will be 35. Richards Bay, 34. Gauteng is expected to have a high of 35. I think somebody just said it was 34, so there you go. All right. There you go. Just painted my rogue cat visitor. Good Lord. Apparently, Daily Mail got paid well for the poll. Okay. I thank you, Teresa. That's a little bit more information that helps me out. All busy today, loading bail in the trailers and packing away, says George. Christine says, not proud of the lawsuit. It was a dumb, woke move. Well, I don't know what the lawsuit was, so there you go. Hi, all. It's hot, says R1. It's hot there, but it's not hot here. It's 26 degrees this morning. It is even colder here in central Pennsylvania than it was yesterday. So I will be bundled up when I'm outside today, even though I don't usually do. A ill Ramaphosa will still give the State of the Nation address tomorrow. I do plan to broadcast that live tomorrow, but that's all contingent on how today goes. Today I've got to get a lot done. If I get it done, then I'll be able to broadcast the State of the Nation address tomorrow, which coincides around the time I do my broadcast. So, oh boy. All right. So, the flu bug has struck at the worst time for Minir Palapala, 2 days before the State of the Nation address. But despite battling the bug, the pseudo-president said the presidency said the statement would be well enough to deliver his much-anticipated message to the country. This is not much anticipated. It'll be more of the same. And there is your preview of the State of the Nation address from Cyril Ramaphosa. It will not be anything that anyone really gives a crap. It will just be total garbage nonsense, and it will elicit boos and pseudo cheers. President Ramaphosa will announce the election date within 15 days. Well, that's interesting. We will know within 2 weeks when the election will be in 2024. Wow, I'm hoping it's June. I know it won't be June, but I'm hoping it's June. Electoral Commission of South Africa announced this week that it has registered a total of 27.4 million voters ahead of the elections. Followed 2 successful registration weekends, which added new voters. Yep, if you count from tomorrow, the president will announce the election date within 15 days, said the presidency. Well, we'll see. We'll soon know when South Africa is going to hold its election. And for all political parties who have not taken to the campaign trail, shame on you. I warned you a long time ago. The only party that I'm aware of that actually actively started its election campaign season in a reasonable time was the UIM. Last year, when I was in the Western Cape, Neil de Beer launched the election campaign for the UIM. Other parties sitting on their backside, busy squabbling over other things, becoming new parties, splitting and hiving into new entities, yes, and failing people left and right. The Western Cape towns had been affected by the collapsed infrastructure in the windstorm will be dealing with no power until next Thursday. Another week. Power in the Western Cape towns that have been affected without electricity since the weekend will only be fully restored by 15 February. All teams are on site working around the clock in a major repair operation that necessitated the need for specialized equipment and additional resources that have been acquired. Operators are currently securing and anchoring the existing lines supported by local Eskom construction teams. My question regarding that is, why is Eskom needing to acquire special equipment to repair its existing power lines? These aren't new lines invented by somebody last week. These are existing structures to deliver electricity across the Karoo. Why do they not have the equipment on hand? Why do they have to acquire new equipment? This is what happens when a corrupt parastatal is run by state bureaucrats and thieves, not by competent capitalists who run a business to turn a profit, generate revenue, employ people, pay taxes, and grow an economy. That's what a capital system does. Stop your commie love. Get rid of a state-owned company that is incapable of repairing its own power lines, which it installed. How does the Eskom Corporation need to acquire equipment to repair towers when it installed them? Answer me this. Riddle me this, Batman. Riddle me this. My goodness. My goodness. Well, ladies and gentlemen, not a shakeup, but a new turnout for the Springboks, the South African national rugby side. The world champion, back-to-back William Webb Ellis Trophy winners, the Springboks, have a new coaching staff. That's right. It's formally announced that once again, Rassie Erasmus is back in the saddle as the head coach for the Springboks with some new coaches, including none other than our favorite, number 8, Dwayne Vermeulen, and Jaco Piper is now part of the Springbok staff. Imagine that, the former World Rugby official. SA Rugby have confirmed that Rassie Erasmus has returned to the role of Springboks head coach and that he will lead a modified coaching team, which includes Dwayne Vermeulen, Tony Brown, Jerry Flannery, and Jaco Piper. Wow, there you go, folks. Something else. Nina Auburn-Jones' departure has opened the door for ex-Ireland hooker and Harlequins assistant coach Flannery, who will be in charge of South Africa's defense, and former All Blacks fly half Brown, who previously worked as assistant coach for Japan from 2016 to 2023, and was also the Highlanders head coach in 2017, 2021, and 2022. He will be the Boks' new attack coach. Flannery and Brown will join the rest of the Springboks backroom team, which consists of Mzwandile Stick, Dion Davids, Don Human, as well as Andy Edwards as head of athletic performance, who were key members of the coaching staff in 2023 and whose contracts were extended midway through last year until the end of 2027 in the World Cup. There is also an exciting new addition to the Springbok coaching staff with renowned international referee and 4-time South Africa Referee of the Year, Jaco Piper, who recently announced his retirement from refereeing, joined the team as National Laws Advisor. Well, will he be able to keep Rossi's mouth shut? That's the question. Good luck, Jaco. That's going to be a full-time job. Another massive price hike for petrol for fuel in South Africa, courtesy of a communist-controlled price regime. Price controls resulting in shocks to the system once again. South African motorists were dealt a blow in February with petrol and diesel prices both going up around 75 cents. But hey, it's going to go up again in March. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Wow. So get ready for that, folks. Get your petrol now. Store it somewhere safe. Nigerians visiting or living in South Africa are safe. This according to Department of International Relations and Cooperation, DIRCO, and Jabba the Hutt, Naledi Pandor, saying Nigerians are safe in South Africa, except that's not true. Or is it true? So Nigerians are safe from xenophobia? Nigerians are safe from crime? I mean, Brits and Americans aren't safe, been shot dead in front of their children and wife right on the airport access road in Cape Town, shot in the mouth by carjackers in the same area. An American and a renowned British surgeon murdered, and an American physician also shot in the mouth. Yeah, Americans and Brits aren't safe in Cape Town and Western Cape and South Africa, where there are targets for open criminal syndicates and lawlessness. Why would Nigerians be safe? But according to DIRCO's Jabba the Hutt, Nigerians are safe. The Department of International Relations and Cooperation's rubbish claims that Nigerians are living and visiting South Africa are not safe. Solo, I'll get you, Solo. And for some reason, the Independent Line feels it's necessary to show us a huge picture of jollof rice. I have no idea why this is in the story. In response, Durko's Clayson Moniela said it was unfortunate an advisory had been issued by the Nigerian High Commission in Pretoria that Nigerians traveling in or to South Africa are unsafe. The advisory is regrettable because it seems to create alarm and unnecessary tension between the citizens of South Africa and Nigerians living in or visiting. I've seen District 9. I know the tensions between the shrimp and the Nigerians. And this is the statement issued by the Nigerian High Commission in Pretoria. Advisory on safe conduct for Nigerians in South Africa before, during, and after the AFCON match between Super Eagles and Bafana Bafana. The attention of the Nigeria High Commission in Pretoria has been drawn to potentially inflammatory online comments made by a section of South African citizens against Nigerians living in host country, largely influenced by the upcoming AFCON and the semifinal match between the Super Eagles and Bafana Bafana today. Most of the comments consist of veiled threats against Nigerians cooking jollof rice before the match and showing pepper to Nigerians if the Bafana Bafana lose to the Super Eagles. In this regard, the High Commission hereby advises the Nigerian community to be watchful and their utterances be mindful. And there is a super chat that's coming through. Thank you for that. Oh, it's from Andreovic. Thank you for that super chat. Yeah, so that's why they put the picture of the jollof rice up there, because South Africans have shown bigotry towards the Nigerians living in South Africa. Well, here's a newsflash for you. Bafana Bafana will be wiped off the map by the Super Eagles. Bafana Bafana is a joke. I could grab 5 people in my neighborhood and we could beat Bafana Bafana. It's as simple as that. They are not even remotely impressive. They will be slaughtered by the Super Eagles. Now, I'm happy to be corrected on this one. I'm happy. Wait till they start stealing the cat food. Oh, that was sick. That was sick. Well, here's the new poll from Ipsos, folks, and this is reported in Business Tech. Apparently, according to John Jarvis, this was savaged by Morning Shot's Ramon Cabanach and I presume Byron Shepard. I had not heard anything from them. They're also live at this time, but I'm not asking you to leave. I'm asking you to stick here. A new poll from Ipsos sees a massive shakeup in the cards for South Africa's political landscape after the elections, with the ANC receiving less than 40% of the vote. Additionally, the polling shows that the current political opposition, the DA, has the economic freedom fighters hot on its heels. Ipsos conducted 3,600 face-to-face interviews across South Africa from October 23rd to December 1st. One of the anchoring questions was, if there were national or provincial elections tomorrow, which political party would you vote for? Respondents were requested to select their choice on an imitation ballot paper on a computer. Before handing the computer back to the interviewer, this approach replicates a real ballot process and ensures confidentiality of the vote. The firm noted that this research does not necessarily constitute an election prediction, but rather captures sentiment at the given period of time. That's true. Yep. And this story goes to say polls have shown that they can be incorrect. For example, the 2016 presidential elections Brexit saga highlighted how far off polls can be. That's true. The 2016 polls predicted that Hillary Clinton was going to win, but that's because the pollsters intentionally skewed their results so that more Democratic voters were selected. So in order for the Ipsos poll to be wrong in the same fashion, it would mean that they intentionally went to places where they knew there were anti-ANC voters to poll. Now, we don't know that they did that. Maybe that's what that was savaged by Morning Shot. Also important notice, the field work for the poll was conducted before the establishment of the MK Party. That's why they're not here. Okay, so it was before the MK Party was established. Yep, and there are exclusions to it. There was no rise in Mzansi, Bossa, the PA, UDM, and ATM. Now, the surprise there is the UDM and the PA, both of which are established parties. I'm surprised they're not there. But detailed analysis by Ipsos considers matters of party choice, preference, affiliation through inquiries in the questionnaire. So let's take a look at this actual poll, and I'll show you what it says here, okay? You ready for this? Let's again bring it up on the screen. You'll see the results of this poll. Here you go. All right, so there's the poll. Let me go ahead and spread that out. Transform, stretch the screen. There you go. So this poll says party choices, and this was as of December 1st. So it's already a couple months old, the data. And this one, the ANC was polling 40.5%, the DA at 20.5%, the EFF, much to my chagrin, at 19.6%, the Inkatha Freedom Party at 4.9%, Action SA at 4.3%, Freedom Front Plus at 2.1%, ACT surprisingly at 1.5%, and ACDP at surprisingly just 1%. I would expect that the DA would pull 25% if they do well, the EFF 12%, the IFP 7% if they do well, Action SA 5%, Freedom Front Plus 3%, and ACDP 2%. That would be my expectation. But that is the poll from Ipsos, but it is December data. And apparently, according to John, this was savaged by Morning Shot. Well, I have not seen Morning Shot's prediction on this or what they're saying. So in addition to this, some people refuse to answer the poll. So Figures look at the registered electorate who have not aligned themselves with a particular political party, indicate as will not vote, refuse to answer, don't know results. Yeah, there you go. So this is, oh, actually, here we go. Let me see this. If I can get this to come up. Oh, come on. For people who don't, oh boy, this is taking a long time to load. Never mind that. Forget it. Yeah, but there's a poll here for those who not going to vote, refuse to answer, don't know. And then that one, the ANC drops to 38.5%. And their DA falls even lower, below the EFF. Wow. In a low voter turnout result, they're predicting the ANC at 46%, DA at 21%, EFF at 16%. We will see. Ken says he thinks my predictions were better than the poll. Well, thank you, Ken. And again, my predictions were made a long time ago, and I have stuck to them. Somebody tell me I've changed it. The only thing I said is my hope, it would be nice to see the ANC drop to 33% or 35%, but I've said always 38 to 42%, with 42% being the likely number. I've said that all along. This story also reported by News 24 talking about that, saying the ANC plummets to 40%. EFF is challenging the DA to be the official opposition. Well, not in office yet. Yep. So here you go. According to this, now this is the highly selected one. They're saying here that according to the survey, ANC dips to 38.5%. Well, that's only if you take into account what they said. 3.6% of survey people said they will not vote. 3.8% refused to answer, and 2.7% said they were uncertain. So that's 6.5% of the electorate that is unaccounted for who will probably vote, plus 4% that won't vote. So 10% of the people who polled weren't even really affected in here. Now, other findings are the DA is moving back into the position of official opposition. The EFF is still challenging this position. The IFP support on national level is in the region of 5%, but it mainly comes from KZN, where the party is a strong contender. But there was notable support for Action SA, mainly in Gauteng, of course, where Herman Mashaba was once the mayor of Cape Town, of Johannesburg. Well, South Africa is worse off today than it was 6 years ago. This is a statement from the leader of Action SA, none other than Herman Mashaba himself, who did his own alternate State of the Nation address. South Africans are worse off today than they were 6 years ago. This was the assertion of Action SA leader Herman Mashaba with an alternate State of the Nation address. Today, Mashaba said the legacy of President Cyril Ramaphosa's time in office was one of a country run down with rampant unemployment, crime, load shedding, and decaying infrastructure. Not to mention, Herman, rampant racism by the government. By almost every measure, South Africans are worse off today than they were 6 years ago. Cannot continue to vote for the same selfish leaders election after election and expect our country to improve. One cannot hope to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome. And I agree, Herman Mashaba, that is an indication of insanity. Doing the same stupid thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. It is just dumb. He accused Ramaphosa of consistently making grand promises but delivering little. 100%. Herman Mashaba, spot on, brother. Spot on. 100%. Yep. To bring about positive change, we must be bold. We must be courageous. We must try something new. We must take action. We must look to solutions-based alternative, challenge the failed political establishment. We don't need to do new things, Herman. We don't need to, I disagree. Herman, things don't need to be done new. The law must be adhered to. The rule of law must be followed. Criminals in the African National Congress must be prosecuted with vim and vigor and put behind bars where they belong. People who steal, people who stuff money in mattresses to evade customs, people who sell fictitious buffalo to fictitious Sudanese businessmen. These people must be prosecuted and put in jail. People who sign contracts giving money to their family and profit and benefits to their family, like Digital Vibes, must be prosecuted and put in prison. People who for years have 168 counts of felony charges against them for corruption in places like, eThekwini, should be prosecuted and behind bars where they belong. People who abuse their position as the deputy president, whose bodyguards beat unconscious members of the South African National Defense Force on the streets of Johannesburg. Perhaps they should be in prison. People who steal from dairy farms like Vreda or have crooked asbestos tenders, maybe they should all be in prison. Just saying, Cyril. Just saying, Herman Mashaba. We need to actually follow the rule of law in Washington, in Berlin, in London, in Paris, in Pretoria. No change is needed. This is like America. Well, we need new regulation because the Bernie Madoff scandal. How about you actually enforce the existing law? It never would have happened. Bernie Madoff would never have been able to swindle people out of billions of dollars had you actually done your damn job as a federal government and a Securities and Exchange Commission. Had you done your job and been responsible as a Securities and Exchange Commission, there would never have been an Enron scandal. Had Congress not perverted the free market capital system with the Community Reinvestment Act, forcing banks to loan money to people based on their skin color, not their viable risk as a credit risk, then we would not have had the subprime mortgage crisis. Had this government not spent trillions of dollars that we don't have, burying us in debt and destroying our economy, this would be a robust country, healthy, and a beacon of hope for the world. Had people not done something in 2020, which led to 81 million supposedly people doing something in 2020, then we would not be subjected to the irony and the pain and misery that the world is suffering through now with Jackass Joe's administration destroying world peace and global security, not to mention economic prosperity in this country. This is what communists do. They destroy countries from within. They are a cancer that must be excised from the body politic at the ballot box. At the ballot box. Abuse of the courts, abuse of the military, abuse of police, abuse of society, abuse of citizens. These are the textbook examples of what communists did in the Soviet Union, in communist China, in North Korea, in Iran, in Venezuela, all over the planet where failed communism continues to seek an edge. Unbelievable. Israel has 200 billion surplus, so why is the U.S. sending cash? I have no idea about Israel having 200 billion surplus. Where are you getting your information from? The U.S. is sending cash because we have an obligation to do so, Garrett. As I've said on this program multiple times in the past, the Camp David Accords, which led to peace, lasting peace between Israel and Egypt, who have never fought each other since the 1973 Yom Kippur War. And the reason they haven't fought each other is because of the Camp David Accords, the only successful action of Jimmy Carter as president of the United States. James Earl Carter, the peanut farmer from Georgia, negotiated the Camp David Accords. As a consequence of that, the United States obliged itself to provide Israel and Egypt financial assistance every year. As a consequence of that agreement, Israel is the single largest recipient of U.S. foreign assistance for military equipment, training, and hardware, to the tune of about $3.8 billion, if I remember correctly. Egypt got military assistance in the form of about $800 million a year and $1.2 billion a year in economic aid. So that's why we give money to Israel. We have an obligation to do so, and that is what maintains the peace. It is a small price to pay to prevent a war between Egypt and Israel. A very small price to pay, a few $1 billion. That's the answer you're looking for there. 3,600 is a very small sample. Actually, Ken, you're mistaken. That is a very large sample when it comes to polling. Polls typically normally have between 600 and 1,200 participants in it. Having a poll with 3,600 people is extremely large. The issue I take with the poll is it was spread over a month. It shouldn't take 5 weeks to do a poll. The poll should have been done in 2 days. So that makes the poll questionable from that standpoint. But 3,600 is a large number for a formal poll. It's not like online. Michael Holmes is back. Do you think the EFF will grow? Well, Michael, my opinion has been that the EFF will never eclipse 15% nationally. And I think this year they could wave cap that. They could get to around 15%. This Ipsos poll puts the EFF at 19%. I'm not buying that, but it is what they say. But at the same time, I am saying I'm buying that the ANC is down around 40%. That I'm accepting, but I'm not accepting the EFF. So you can call me not a hypocrite, but someone that has difficulty accepting reality in that poll. But yeah, the EFF will grow, but no more than 15%. Slippery Pickle says the poll is wrong. Banana are not an inclusive team. No, they're not. They're a racist team that excludes white South Africans from it. Yep, the only white South African that's been on the team is a man who's married to a black woman. And he's no longer on the team. Were these power cable pylons ones that had some of the steel stolen trade? I have no idea, Keith. It's a good question. It needs to go for BE tender. Oh, that's why it takes. Rossi's a star. He is. Escom sold existing equipment. There, that might be what happened. So good to see you there, Michael. Glad to see you back. Slippery Pickle. The guy who works for me is named Israel. How does he get some of that cash? Well, that's a good question. I listened to Pandor this morning when she speaks at her mosque with her hijab on, stating South Africa has not received any money from Iran. I didn't know that Naledi Pandor was a Muslim. That's the first time I've ever heard that. Wow. Okay. Didn't know that. Polls in South Africa are a mathematical challenge. So, well, that's right. Well, they're going to ANC bad to education. So they're getting it all wrong, no doubt. Well, the Democratic Alliance is heading back to court over the illegal appointment of an official in the city of Joburg. The city is once again trying to appoint Floyd Brink, who a court said could not be appointed because it was illegal. Wow. Democratic Alliance back in court today over City of Johannesburg decision to rehire Floyd Brink as the city manager. The DA argued that the reappointment was in contempt of court because of a ruling in the Gauteng High Court in Joburg on November 7th. Acting Judge Stephen Budlender found that his appointment was unlawful. Well, they're still trying to do it. Why is Johannesburg trying to hire someone the court says they can't hire? I don't get that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, concern mounts over potential new human pandemic after avian flu mutation raises the alarm. Oh, this story from Yasmin Jacobs. A mutation of avian flu is raising serious concerns about a potential new human pandemic as the highly pathogenic H5N1 strain has now become transmissible between mammals. Oh my goodness, run for the hills, put your mask on, inoculate your children. Don't. Oh, the sky is falling. The H1XJ95 X-ray 755327/stroke.comma:. Oh, pandemic, run for the hills. Oh, no. Where's Dr. Fauci? Somebody get Dr. Fauci. We need Fauci. We need Fauci now. Please, urgently calling Dr. Fauci. Hello, Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci, please save us. Please. Do you have a mask? Do you have a mask? I need a mask. Oh, a t-shirt over my mouth will do. Thank you, Dr. Fauci. Oh! The latest fear-mongering coming from health authorities is saying that a mutation of avian flu will wipe out the planet. Hello, YouTube. That is sarcasm. In case you missed it, that's humor. I know I'm not JP Awakens. I don't look like a cartoon character with red hair, but, that was my humor, so take it for what you want there. Dr. Fauci. Calling Dr. Fauci to the bank, please sign your check. Dr. Fauci, please collect your bonus from Pfizer. Dr. Fauci. South Africa, as I've pointed out repeatedly over the past several weeks, is bleeding foreign direct investment. Remember Cyril Ramaphosa, we will bring millions, billions of foreign direct investment. And look at our success. $16 billion have flowed into South Africa. Money previously committed, not money since Cyril Ramaphosa. And all these foreign nationals will give us our money and make South Africa robust. And what's that? Jabba, what are you saying? Mr. President, Nigerians are safe. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a conversation between none other than Lady Pandor and Cyril Ramaphosa. Now, Lady Pandor to the front door, please. Now, Lady Pandor to the front door. Paging the president for the ladies' intimate apparel section, please. Ramaphosa to ladies' intimate apparel. South Africa is bleeding foreign direct investment. 1 trillion rand have fled the country in the past decade, of which jackass Cyril Ramaphosa has been president or pretend president since 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. That is 6+ years that he's been responsible for the flow of foreign direct investment out of South Africa, despite his lies about it coming in. Business Day reported that valued the outflows of the past 10 years at $62.63 billion. From the South African bond market, wow, and equity markets. $11.25 billion has left South Africa's bond market. That means there's no confidence in this government of South Africa to repay its bills, kind of like America, and $51.38 billion in equity. People are fleeing South African stocks, not investing in South African companies. This fiction of Cyril Ramaphosa, this alone would convince any lucid, cogent, literate South African to not vote for the ANC or EFF. This alone. Anyone that looks at this figure, what I've been talking about for months, years, mind you, anyone that looks at this would go, whoa, this country will collapse. No one is saving us. If it wasn't for the handouts from the International Development Bank, from the IMF, that's the World Bank, by the way, the International Development Bank, the World Bank, the IMF, the African Development Bank, the New BRICS Bank, and then the so-called just energy transition, South Africa's ANC would have seen a complete implosion of the economy based on its negligence and its theft. Wow. 62.63. I got to save that story. I have to save that because I need to do video on that when I have time. Maybe tonight. Who knows? Not today. South Africa, $63 billion in net outflow. That's net outflows. That's guaranteed as more has left the country than has come in. And we're not even talking about remittances or people sending their money abroad who live in South Africa. Imagine all the Nigerians. Jabba the Hutt. Nigerians are safe in South Africa. Solo. Yeah. Hey, no need to panic. Now, after South African authorities and the world authorities tell us that, the X1 V723 5766 stroke 5-9 flu, avian mutation is things to fear. After raising the alarm on that, now with a real health scare, a genuine health scare with real concerns in South Africa, which people are drinking filthy feces-laden water. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Don't drink the water. That's what they're saying. Well, no need to panic, says Joe Pala. That's the health minister, Joe Pala. As the country records 46 cases suspected and 5 confirmed cases of cholera. Cholera, a completely preventable human disease. Completely preventable. My goodness. That's between January and February 1st. 51 cases of cholera potentially in South Africa. Now, that's a real health crisis. Like Hamanskra, a real health crisis. But the officials in South Africa are telling you, no, not worried about that. Don't worry about when you go to the restaurant or McDonald's and the person who just went to the bathroom. I don't mean to ruin your meal, folks. You shouldn't be eating at this hour anyway. But don't let that worry you. There's no cause for concern here. Nothing to see here. Moving right along, says Joe Pala. But hey, X127V36/5 stroke 9 Bravo 235 avian flu. Well, that's something to be terrified of, folks. That's something to be terrified of. In neighboring Botswana, De Beers and the government of Botswana are kind of up in arms about sanctions on Russian diamonds. And you'd be, wait a second, why are they upset about that? I mean, if Russians can't sell their diamonds, that's going to raise the price of diamonds. And it's better for De Beers. Except it's not, because the requirements will force De Beers and others to ship their diamonds to one location in Europe to the profit of those folks in Belgium, and not to the benefit of African companies here. Well, not here, but there on the continent. Diamond producers De Beers, a unit of Anglo-American, and Botswana's state-owned Okavango Diamond Company asked the group of G7 to consider unintended consequences as the bloc prepares to impose a second phase of a ban on Russian diamonds, concerned that African prices will be hugely inflated. Well, there you go. A new system to trace the origin of gems will be introduced in September, but there are questions over how a diamond's country of origin should be checked and where it should be done. Belgium supports the idea of checks in Antwerp, the world's diamond hub. Of course they do. Of course Belgium supports that, because all the money flows to the Belgians. Well, they, of course, are well behind that effort. Yeah, no surprise there. Yeah, De Beers has previously urged G7 to engage Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, Angola, and India to develop a framework with input from across the industry. Agreed. The company suggests that African producers should be allowed to certify their own diamonds as non-Russian. As it is, only the Belgians will be able to certify diamonds as non-Russian. Yeah, well, that's very unfair, patently unfair. Zimbabwe is moving to abolish the death for 62 folks. It abolishes hanging of men. 62 death row inmates in Zimbabwe could have their sentences commuted to life in prison when the government abolishes the death penalty in 2024. This was revealed at the first cabinet meeting of the year, chaired by the crocodile himself, Emerson Mnangagwa, on Tuesday. The abolition is due to come into effect through private members' death penalty abolition bill. Well, you won't be killed, but you'll get to spend the rest of your life in prison. Wow, what a nice deal that is. Bill Gates, behind the company that's had a massive discovery of more copper in the copper capital of Africa, Zambia. Backed by a coalition of billionaires, including Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, the California-based metals exploration company says it discovered a vast copper deposit in Zambia. A spokesman for Cobalt Metals told CNBC that the company believes its Mngomba copper project will become one of the world's biggest high-grade large copper mines. Zambia is Africa's second largest copper producer after the DRC. This may put it back on top again. There you go. The rare discovery of a large-scale copper deposit could help in the global race to secure a supply of minerals critical to energy transition. Copper is in high demand due to its use in renewable energy and electric vehicles. Well, Bill Gates isn't rich enough. He's exploring for metals in Africa, the new colonialism. Tanzanian lawmakers passed a measure that upsets the opposition for electoral reform. Tanzanian lawmakers on Friday approved electoral reforms despite an outcry by the main opposition Chadema party, which has vowed to protest the legislation. Chadema party says the three bills do not address concerns over the last presidential election in 2020, which former authoritarian leader John Magufuli won in a landslide despite opposition claims of fraud. Of course, he died in office from the spicy cough. Sorry, I was imitating John Magufuli before his demise. Senators rushed to salvage their ridiculous, idiotic, un-American, unconstitutional Death and Surrender of America bill known as the Border Bill, as they try to save this abomination, destroying America and allowing criminal alien invaders in our midst. Senate Minority Moron Leader Mitch McConnell, standing there before the podium, hopefully remembering his words for a change. Senators throwing the towel Tuesday on $118 billion national security and border package after sharp opposition from Republicans scuttled the deal. See, this is dishonest, Wall Street Journal. Opposition came from Republicans and Democrats. Opposition. See the media, they lie. The Wall Street Journal, once a venerable, reliable, middle-of-the-road, slightly conservative, news, fact-based organization, has become a puppet of the legacy media, constantly running stories that are dishonest. The reason that this bill is in jeopardy is not because of Republicans exclusively, but also a number of demon rats who want even more criminal aliens to invade our country and don't think this goes far enough. That's the facts. That's the news that this publication refuses to tell you about. That's simply a lie, what they've done. What they've done is lie to the public. Shame on the Wall Street Journal. Shame on you. Tell people the full story. The surrender to political reality left Democrats seething over what they called a bait and switch by Republicans after 4 months of talks, while GOP lawyers said the deal's border provisions weren't strong enough. This is a lie. This is an absolute lie. Republicans presented House Resolution 2 months ago, and it was dead on arrival because the demon rats in the radical left of the Democratic Party refuse to protect this nation. They seek to undermine it, divide it socially, racially, bifurcate this society linguistically, and cause the collapse of the most promising experiment in human governance in history. Shame on them all, including Mitch McConnell, Mitch the moron McConnell. Nikki Haley will lose the Nevada primary. Now, the Nevada Republican primary will not decide the number of delegates. The delegates to Nevada will be strangely doled out because they're having a caucus in a few days. And in the caucus, that's how they'll decide to hand out. The people meet, they'll get together, they'll have people speak about their candidates, and then they'll vote. In the caucus, that's coming up. But they had the primary last night. And the Nevada primary, Nikki Haley lost to the category, none of these candidates. Oh my gosh, her candidacy is dead on arrival. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an embarrassment of epic proportions for Nikki Haley. She was on the primary ballot. Donald Trump wasn't. Nikki Haley will lose to Nevada GOP primary to none of these candidates as Biden notches a Democratic win. Look at that. Nevada is Trump country. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Woke Haley will lose Nevada's non-binding Republican primary to none of these candidates, an embarrassing defeat in a contest that did not even feature Donald Trump on the ballot. The outcome likely reflects many GOP voters' preference for Trump. Oh my goodness. Of course, the primary carries little weight because Republicans have opted to award their delegates through the party-run caucuses, which Trump is expected to win this Thursday. Tomorrow. Oh my goodness, Nikki Haley. She loses to none of the, imagine that. There's Nikki Haley, there's Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, and none of these candidates. And she loses. Now, most of the news stories are covering up how badly she lost. I did find a Reuters report which gives us the numbers. Are you ready for this? It was bad. It was bad. It was bad. With over 2/3 of Republican ballots counted at the time of this news report, Nikki Haley had just 32% of the votes, with none of these candidates at over 61%. Aidez-moi. Nikki Haley loses to none of these candidates. 61% to 32. Oh my, double. 2/3 of the primary voters said, nope, not interested. That is an incredible repudiation of Nikki Haley's candidacy. I'm sorry, folks. Obviously, if there's a Nikki Haley administration, I won't have an offer of a job there. I'm telling you that now. Oh, the Alejandro Mayorkas impeachment effort has failed courtesy of treasonous Republican legislatures and treasonous Democrats who vote en masse against it. All Texas Republicans voted to impeach the Homeland Security Secretary, but 4 Republicans voted with the Democrats against the measure. All of Texas House Republicans voted. The impeachment failed 216 to 214. 4 Republicans betrayed America and our national security by voting against it. The House had not impeached a member of the president's cabinet in nearly 150 years. The vote was very close, with the outcome unknown until the end of the vote. Representative Mike Gallagher, Wisconsin, who chairs the House Select Committee, voted against the resolution. Numerous Republicans, including Texas Representatives Mike McCall and Jody Arrington, were seen circling around Gallagher as he held out on his vote. Representatives Ken Buck of Colorado and Tom McClintock of California also voted against impeachment. U.S. Representative Blake Moore of Utah ended up changing his vote to a no at the last minute, tanking the vote. These people are treasonous bastards and must be voted out of office. Ladies and gentlemen, these members of Congress, Ken Buck, Tom McClintock, Blake Moore, and Mike Gallagher, must be voted out. I don't care if they're running against a dog. Vote for the dog. These are treasonous bastards who betrayed America's national security. Alejandro Mayorkas and his criminal jackass conspiracy to undermine this nation's national security by violating Title 42, putting people with undocumented aliens on planes illegally in violation of Federal Aviation Administration rules with no consequences, and dumping these criminal alien invaders in our midst in Tallahassee, in Albany, in Harrisburg, among other places, dumping them here, has violated our national security, endangered this country. We saw police being beaten up by criminal alien invaders and released by jackass Alvin Bragg into the public moments after they were arrested for assaulting police officers. We see people raped, murdered, homes invaded, property destroyed, infectious disease pouring across the border. These are not welcome migrants. These are criminal alien invaders. No sympathy for people who violate our laws. We are a country full of immigrants, lots of foreign-born people. Close to 750,000 to 900,000 people become American citizens every year. No country in the world is this generous. And of course, all of them are overwhelming so-called people of color. Of course, we're all people of color. White's a color, but I'm not even white. I'm pink. That's a color too. It's in the rainbow, last time I checked. Yeah, these treasonous bastards must be primaried. It is time for this idiocy to end. Well, according to a court, Donald Trump doesn't have presidential immunity. This is ludicrous, but let's see how it plays out. The British broadcasting propaganda outlet BBC says that Trump does not have presidential immunity. He claimed a landmark legal case that he was immune from criminal charges for acts he fell within his duties as president. Well, that is true. He has qualified immunity for his acts. This is the norm in America. That's the reason why Tom Wolfe is not currently sitting in a state penitentiary, because he violated the Constitution, violated the law, but somehow got away with qualified immunity, saying it was his official duty as governor. So this is a ludicrous decision. There's no way you can say this. You can make this claim. The president cannot be charged with war or waging war by exercising national security, for instance. Unbelievable. We cannot accept former President Trump's claim that a president has unbound authority to commit crimes that would neutralize the most fundamental check on executive power, the recognition and limitation of election results, the three-judge panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals for D.C. Circuit wrote in its opinion. Of course, their opinion is horse manure because that's not what Donald Trump did. They're making a fraudulent claim, and they're trying to rescind his executive authority based on that. No, that's nonsense. Total nonsense. They're just making it up. This will go to the Supreme Court, and assuming it's not captured, will be overturned. Governor Kathy Hochul, the aspirant who helped get her predecessor booted from office, Governor Grope-a-Lot, Andrew Cuomo, the man living in the darkness now, the once aspiring presidential hopeful, who used to grope women apparently. Governor Hochul rips a decision to free migrants who attacked New York police officers. It should never have happened. Once again, never missing an opportunity to be a political opportunist and take advantage of someone else's scandal, just like she did in Governor Grope-a-Lot, to become the governor of the Empire State of New York. That's right. Kathy Hochul, the political opportunist, ever the opportunist, now sensing that people are up in arms about Alvin Bragg and Eric Adams' idiotic decision to allow criminal alien invaders in their midst assault law enforcement in the streets in broad daylight in Times Square, no less, and then release them. Well, here's an opportunity. Sensing blood in the water like a shark, smelling the chum, Kathy Hochul has swam in on PMS NBC. New York Governor Kathy Hochul said the group of migrants who attacked New York Police Department officers near Times Square should be prosecuted and criticized the decision to release them without bail during a Tuesday interview on MSNBC with Misha Brzezinski, the vile, repulsive commentator. She said she believes several of the suspects fled the state on a bus to California. Well, welcome to the show, Kathy Hochul. Called it an abhorrent act. Really? Really? This abhorrent act is because of your policies in New York, because of Eric Adams in the city, and because his predecessor, Governor Mayor Wilhelm. Oh, I'm sorry, you don't know that name? It's de Blasio. He's actually Wilhelm. Yeah, he hid his crowd name to be Mayor de Blasio. Well, a Michigan court has found a mother complicit in the manslaughter and has sentenced this woman to prison because her son shot people in a school. After a jury found her guilty, bailiffs latched and locked 45-year-old Jennifer Crumbley's handcuffs. They returned her to jail. The mother was found to be grossly negligent in her parenting of Ethan Crumbley, who is serving life in prison after killing 4 classmates at Oxford High School in November of 2021. Crumbley, who's been jailed for 2 years and 2 months awaiting trial, is set for an April 9th sentencing on 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. Each count carries a maximum prison of 15 years in prison. Now, here's my question. Why was this woman in prison when she was no threat to the public for 2 years and 2 months? Had she been found not guilty, she would have lost 2 years of her life living in prison. That's not acceptable. People beat police officers in the streets of New York and they're released. Criminal alien invaders who have already violated the law by coming in our country and then beat police officers in public and flee, and they're released by Alvin Bragg. This mother, who's being found guilty by a court of being complicit because she didn't provide proper supervision for her son, not because she's an armed robber, not because she sexually molested anyone, not because she shot anyone, not because she committed any crime, other than being negligent. And for that, she's going to spend multiple years in prison. And perhaps that's correct. But why was she in jail for 2 years and 2 months? Because she's white. That's why. And because it's a school shooting. That's why she's in prison. Wow. Wow. Jennifer Crumbley's 47-year-old husband, James, purchased their son an eventual murder weapon. She didn't buy the gun. Yep. And she visited the shooting range with her son where he practiced firing it. So she showed supervision, making sure her son used the weapon properly at a range. Unfortunately, supposedly, he communicated to his mother that he had delusions. He saw demons. And she failed to notify people. So on the basis of that, she's convicted. I'm not saying she's not guilty. What I'm saying is that what's happened here is a travesty. Yep. What's going on here? Am I not live? I am live. Okay, sorry. It's this stupid YouTube thing. All right, let's get back to the chat and see what's being said here. Okay. Post a link here. Hope it's okay. Andrea, you can't post a link unless you have a spanner. So only spanners can do that. That's a YouTube policy, not my policy. Okay. Where am I at here now? I've listened to Pandora this morning where she speaks in Oscar. Got that already. We were there. Of the 46 top matriculants in South Africa, Borg, not a single black face, just saying. Yeah, but how many of them actually get to go on to school? Some of them have been denied school. If you have time, look at this, says Andrea. Okay, well, that link is not there. Dr. Fauci should be in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. He wasn't? Oh, well, that was Tim Curry. Dr. Fauci might have the anecdotes since he was most likely involved. Could be. Your acting skills are better than Trudeau's. All Trudeau. Justin Trudeau. Okay. Hey, Marilyn, how's it going? Did you see the news? The Oxford school shooter's mother found guilty. Yeah, that's what I just talked about, Christine. Yep. Jennifer Crumbley. Just covered that. Okay. Does that include the... I know what that money is, Monray says. Okay. Israel El Al cancels flights to diplomatic ally Morocco. I'm shocked to hear that. That's not a wise move. Morocco has been a steadfast ally of Israel. Did they do something to piss off Israel? Because of the Abraham Accords, they renewed their relationship. Ireland, yes. I could see them canceling flights to Ireland, yep. Sean says, hello, fellow subjugated peasants and slaves. Diamonds are for industry. Yep. Well, they're for lady's best friend, too, I hear. Arbot says, hello. Welcome to Arbot. It's been reported that estimate of minerals are worth over $1 trillion in Afghanistan. Which minerals? There's a lot of minerals in Mongolia, folks. That's the next El Dorado for the mining landscape. James Webb Telescope is aimed at Andromeda, our closest galaxy. Super interesting finds. Yeah, no, Andromeda is pretty cool. Andromeda Ascended. I love that show. That was a concept by Gene Roddenberry and brought to life after his passing, starring none other than our former guest on the program, Kevin Sorbo, Captain Dylan Hunt of the starship Andromeda. Ascendant. Yep. I remember that show. I love that show. Dylan Hunt. She handed her son the gun knowing that he was mentally unstable. The father will face a jury in March. Yeah, well, Christine, I'm not arguing against conviction. I'm arguing against why she was put in prison when she's not a threat to public safety. She should have been on parole. Why wasn't she on parole? You thought Fauci was a concierge in Rocky Horror. That's funny. That was a good show, Colonel. Oh, Rocky Horror? I don't know. People love Rocky Horror Show. It was okay. Yeah, I don't know. That for me, it was not the best thing. Anyway, hey, I'm just excited about that solar output, folks. Yeah, I've had some dark days in January and, barely beat December's output, which was pretty low. But, man, February is looking like a sunny day. I've got something here. Let me see what this message is. Huh? Hang on a second. Sorry, folks. All right, I took care of that. Thank you. All right, 350 in South Africa now. Scattered meteorites are all over Namibia worth trillions. Well, there's a big meteor impact crater just north of Pretoria, if anyone's ever been to it. That's a pretty wild one there. I've seen it. Unfortunately, I have to drive through Shoshamvugu to get there, and that's pretty dodgy and dangerous. Not sure if it's a local thing, but I got chucked out, and it's taken me 10 minutes to get back in. Must be Flushing. Yeah, sorry it took so long. Glad to see you back, though. Thank you for your persistence. We're under 200 views at this hour. That's a little depressing. Yeah, hopefully more people will show up and watch this at some point. The mother needed to be kept in jail because in that 2 years she could have had a baby and given the baby a gun. Yeah, okay, thank you, Light Ray. That's very, very helpful. Anyway, yeah. Hey, Chris Maurice here. Welcome. Good to see you there. And Scatter Meteorites. So I already talked about that. That was a good show, says Charles. I think he's talking about the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's okay. I mean, I didn't get too excited about Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's out there. So, yeah. My goodness. Where are we at here? It's just a C4 arrangement. Now the guys have managed to grow C5. Oh, you're graphene. You guys, huge step in material science. Carbon fiber mixed with glass. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. All right, chances are she would flee the U.S. I doubt that. I doubt that. This woman doesn't look to have the means or the intelligence to flee the United States. Anyway, but I guess it doesn't matter in the end because she's been found guilty and has to face multiple years in jail. So now that she's been locked up in jail for 2 years, being somebody's girlfriend, probably, she'll now have that time counted against her sentence. So that'll reduce her sentence by the 2 years and 2 months she spent in jail. Meatloaf put out some cool tunes. Yeah, about it. Yeah, Meatloaf's later stuff was really good. I really liked his later stuff. His early stuff was okay, but this left to do later. But unfortunately, passed away. Meatloaf is gone. He's not with us anymore. Yep, that's old news. I'm going to recharge this phone. Stick it on the charger here. It hasn't been charged for a few weeks. This is my backup GSM phone, which I take all over the world, and I had it in France. Cracked the screen cover on it, but I've got a spare somewhere. Only some music was good. The movie was crap. Yep, Brian. Yeah, I thought the movie was crap too. I didn't really care for Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was okay, but people just it became a cult following. People just went to it. They throw popcorn and dress up like idiots. It's kind of like the Sevens before World Rugby destroyed the concept of sevens this year with Sevens, SVNS instead of sevens. You know, the HSBC Sevens series is tarnished beyond recognition now. Before they did that, people would always go to sevens tournaments, especially on the last day, wearing all kinds of costumes, and then that morphed into multiple days. It was kind of the thing. I don't know why it happened, but it did, and it was kind of cool. And I miss the sevens. It's a shame they destroyed it. Yeah. Yep. Sorry. Okay, cool. All right, cool. 3 or 4 15-year convictions. That's correct, Christine. But those can be run concurrently if the court decides so. Yep. Yeah, no, her life is over. Her life is over because she bought a gun, or her husband bought a gun for her son. Yep. And exercising parental supervision, she made the mistake of going to the range with him to practice with a gun, which obviously made her complicit. The whole story about the delusions, I wasn't there, you weren't there, we don't know. That's what the court claims. They apparently... The jury feel they've proven it, so she's guilty. So there you go. I don't understand. You know, look. Look. Let's just put some perspective. I was handed a firearm as a child. And I was gifted firearms as a child. But before I ever touched a firearm, I was given stern lectures and physical experience in how to handle a firearm, how to treat a firearm, and the danger they present before I ever put a round in a chamber. So that was responsible. I'll say one thing about my stepfather. He may have been a bastard, but he was responsible when it came to firearms. He treated them with care. He's a Vietnam veteran who was wounded by the Viet Cong, shot in his legs. Multiple rounds went through both legs. He spent a year in a hospital recovering in Japan, couldn't walk for a year as a consequence of his service in Vietnam. He had major respect for firearms, and as a consequence, I was taught firearm safety and to treat it for what it is. Yep. That's a fact, Jack. And so I have a difficult time understanding how parents give firearms to kids without that sort of oversight and responsibility. I could access firearms at any time. They weren't locked in safes. That garbage nonsense wasn't necessary in a real country with parenting where two parents were involved in raising children, not as heathens and hooligans, but as responsible citizens. So where this country went wrong, sometime in the 1990s, I don't know. Maybe it was the Bill Clinton era when, well, it depends on what the definition is. I did not have sexual relations with that intern. Okay, Bill, thank you for that, destroying America with your idiocy. When you cannot define the verb to be in the English language and you're a Rhodes Scholar who went to Oxford, that's embarrassing to say the least. My buddy and his sister's wife in cancer treatment did some research why Honduras when they have great med facilities. I have no idea. It must be much cheaper in Honduras. Must also be less lax regulation of treatments, and maybe it's an experimental treatment. There's lots of reasons why people go to places like that. Tony says he was taught in boarding school. We started off with pellet guns as kids. Oh, I had a BB gun first. That's right. We call them pellet guns. We call them BB guns. I had a BB gun. Yep. He had automatic assault rifles at 18 to control riots in black townships. We had to adhere to Geneva Convention laws. Yep. Yes, but that's not what the ANC will tell people. They'll tell people you fired it indiscriminately at people, which is a lie. Which is a lie. A lie. The following is a lie. 52 people currently here now. The crowd's growing slightly at this hour. We did get over 200 viewers now. Thank you for that. 22 shorts. Okay. BB guns and then pellet guns. Okay. Well, we had BB guns. I didn't use pellet guns. BB guns. I had BB guns. I didn't like BB guns because you had to cock them, It's kind of a pain. And they always pinch your finger if you're not careful. Yeah, but I had a 410, a 12 gauge, a 16 gauge, a 22 long rifle, plus a whole bunch of other stuff. And people are like, what'd you do with all those things? Well, we shot Democrats. No, we didn't. Used them for squirrel hunting, for shooting groundhogs, for target practice, for sportsmanship, for deer hunting, for quail hunting, for pheasant hunting. That's right. That's right. That's what we did. That's what we did. We used our guns to control our wildlife, to keep them from getting out of control. You know, deer, they get a little too busy in that rutting season, and they have too many deer. Next thing you know, everybody's hitting a deer on the highway. How do we stop that? Well, we go out in hunting season, and we shoot them deer, and then we string them up, we gut them, we tan the hides, we mount the heads, and we eat the venison meat. That's what we do. We've been doing that since the Native Americans came here a long time ago from Asia. That's right. Of course, they didn't have no guns. They just had bows and arrows and spears. But we brought them guns from Europe, and ever since then, we've been eating lots of deer. Lots of deer. Well, it's a lot better than running into it with your pickup truck. I mean, if you got your pickup truck out there and you run into a deer, that's not a pretty sight. Best case, they might just smash your your windows. But worst case, trash your car and kill you. Number of people get killed every year. Every year. I say, boy. I say, Foghorn Leghorn here. People die in deer accidents every year. It's dangerous. Look at those hooves flying up in the air, coming through the windscreen. Oh, crazy stuff. My dad taught me target shooting. I was very good, even if I say so myself. Well, Maryland, that's awesome. Cool. Closet full of competition trophies. Got slow in my old age. That's cool. Yeah, and you've got to share the meat. Yeah, you've got to take advantage of your ability to be shooting skills when you're young and your eyesight works. Okay, I don't want to hear about that, Garrett. You guys were doing malicious things, misbehaving as children. Yep. There was very strict control on live fire in the Army. Yep, same here. Are we clear on the left? Clear on the left. Clear on the right. Clear on the right. Clear in the center. We have an alibi fire. Fires. Cease firing. Rotate your safety selector switch to safe. Place your weapon downrange on the mount. Step away from the weapon and stand up behind it. Are we clear on the right? We're clear on the right. Are we clear on the left? Clear on the left. In the center. Still have a misfire in the center. Fires. Wait. Yep. Very serious. That's how we take it. Ensure you point your weapon up and down range at all times. Do not lock and load a round until directed to do so. On the following table, you will have 2 minutes to fire at 15 targets. Fires. Rotate your safety switch from safe to semi-automatic. There you go. Begin firing. Yep, that's how we did it. That's how we did it. Negligent parenting is a crime they're prosecuting now. I think the incoming mass incarceration of black families will count. Yeah, exactly. Yep, exactly right. Salute, Colonel. Hey, Grasshopper, how's it going? Ammo's gotten very expensive. Well, it follows a trend that happened here in America because a lot of folks were buying firearms, and the government tried to hurt ammunition manufacturers, and so we had a major ammunition shortage here after the summer of 2020, the summer of love. All the leaves are brown, and the sky is gray, America's burning. Yeah, that was the summer of 2020, folks. Mamas and papas, yeah. Of course, they're long gone. But Mama Cass and those guys. But, the summer of love in 2020, there was a massive ammunition shortage across the country. And the only people who were doing okay getting ammunition were for obscure round sizes and also for those who were self-loaders. But even self-loaders had a problem as the government began putting crimps and trying to strangle the supply chain of necessary parts and powder and such to make rounds of ammunition. Meanwhile, the criminals had all the ammunition they needed, but law-abiding citizens were put into a bind. Prices skyrocketed and shelves went bare. I was walking around looking at sporting goods stores and looking at shelves with only a couple boxes of obscure types of ammunition sitting on the shelf. Everything else completely sold out. Yep. Sheriff Judd could be a brilliant police chief for South Africa. I don't know who Sheriff. You talking about the guy from Milwaukee? That guy's brilliant. My first handling of a gun was an 8 or 9. I took my dad's handgun out of the safe, cleaned it, and put it back together. So no training. I saw my dad cleaning it. I made sure I was alone. Well, Hester, you are a cheeky little child there for doing that. It could have been loaded. Fortunately, your father didn't have it loaded. So remember Sammy Joe. Wie die Volk schiet op Afrikaans. I don't know that, Charles. I don't know that at all. Yeah, negligent parenting. Yep, that's my point. Sheriff Grady Judd. I don't know who that is, Christine. Who is Sheriff Judd? Anyway. I knew a lieutenant that held up a helmet at the range. It ricocheted down on the curve. He got demoted to private. Not surprised. Well, speaking of that, I've seen stupidity too. We had a lieutenant. Now, first off, let me put this in perspective, okay? I'm a second lieutenant, a butter bar, as they call them in the military. It's an insulting term meant to show that lieutenants know nothing, but I wasn't your average 22-year-old lieutenant. I had already served in the Army, was mature, and already graduated college, so I was a couple years older than most lieutenants. But a butter bar. Imagine being in a combat arms unit where the camaraderie amongst warriors like infantry and armor and artillery is strong, and you're the only or one of only a handful of people who are not armor, in my case. So you've already got to prove you're a man. You've got to be faster than anyone else. So when we ran staff PT, I was always the first or second to finish. We go for like 5-mile run. We run on our own, come back, they go us out, they release us, you come back at your own pace, and I always finish first or second, just to prove that I'm a real man. And anyway, because if you finish last, like, look at the intel guy, they're weenies, man, they're not real warriors, that nonsense. So you had to always be better than everyone else, and that's one reason why I always excelled, because I had to be better than everyone else. Anyway, the point of the story is that we had idiots after the war sitting around playing with their firearms, and we had an intelligence officer in the infantry battalion shoot himself in the foot. Can you imagine that? What are you going to tell your kids or your grandkids? Granddad, you were in the Gulf War? Yes, I was, son. What did you do? Well, I was in an infantry unit, 418 Infantry. We were in 2nd Brigade, 3rd Armored Division. We fought against the Talwakana and lots of other Republican Guard units. Granddad, did anything exciting happen? Well, after the war, sitting around fucking off, I shot myself in the foot with my pistol, with my 45. True story. It's a true story. Oh my gosh. I still can't believe it. He shot himself in the foot. He wasn't alone. We had several of these incidents. And there's a consequence because of idiots who don't know how to handle firearms. The rest of us had additional measures to be careful. You know, some units started making people, when they entered tactical operations centers, take their sidearms and remove the magazine and unchamber a round. Shouldn't be a round chambered anyway, but that's another story. Yeah. So look, when I was in basic training in December of 1983 and went to a live fire range in the dead of winter in Fort Leonard Wood, which is affectionately known as Fort Lost in the Woods. At Fort Leonard Wood, it was freezing. And we have our field jackets, which are not particularly warm. They're just heavier cloth. It's like blue jean material. But you do have an insert you can put inside, which is warmer, and that keeps you. But I'm left-handed. One problem with an M16 rifle is that the M16 ejects the round out of the right side and the bolt comes back. And if you're left-handed and you have the rifle on this side of your shoulder because you're firing from this shoulder, the bolt comes back and it shoots the brass out and hits you right in the face or hits you in the shoulder, depending on how much it ejects. So it hits you in the face, burns your face because it's blazing hot when it comes out. So they created something called a brass deflector. It's a little piece of plastic which wasn't particularly well designed. Some defense contractor made a fortune off this for these stupid things. And it is kind of like shaped like this. So the brass deflector gets mounted. There's a little clip where it mounts on the handle of the M16. It pops in there. And so when the round comes back, it hits the brass deflector, the plastic, and then falls forward. In theory, not hurting the left-handed firer. In practice, on that range in December of it might have been January of 1984. I'm not sure which. But anyway, in that range, because I graduated in January. But on that range, that live fire range, it was below zero, freezing. We're already cold. Our boots are freezing. We're wearing these field jackets. We're chattering, and we're shooting at targets, the pop-up targets. When you hit them, they fall down. My goodness, if you don't hit them, they don't fall down. They're only up for a few seconds. The further away they are, the longer they stay up, but no more than 5 or 6 seconds for the ones that are far off. Anyway, so I fire with the brass deflector in the first round at like 300 meters. I hit the target. Oh! The brass went forward and went right down my sleeve. I had a glove. I had a glove on here, but it went right down my sleeve and burned my forearm. Oh, that's a real effective solution. Thank you. Instead of hitting me in the face, it hits me in the wrist. Yeah, that sucked. So in the midst of the live fire range in which I qualified as an expert marksman, You have expert sharpshooter and marksman. I qualified as an expert marksman. You have to get 36 out of 40 to be an expert. I think I got 38 or something like that. But in the midst of that, and the reason I missed 2 of them was because I had to take that brass deflector off. And then a short target, which was only up for like 2 or 3 seconds, popped up in front of me. And I think I missed one of those when I should have hit it because I was taking the brass deflector off. And then the brass came out. And fortunately, it ejected and it all was hitting me in the shoulder, not in the face. But man, yeah. Anyway, but back to the point of that story that I was telling you about that range. So we had, at that time, people in our unit, in our platoon, who had never been around a firearm in their life. Now, I lived on a farm. I grew up with firearms, courtesy of my stepfather. And so I knew how to handle them. I knew how to respect them. But we had kids who were inner city and peri-urban who'd never touched a firearm in their life. I had a guy who almost wet himself because he had to shoot a gun. You're a soldier. You have to shoot a gun. Grow up. It was embarrassing. Yeah, I don't have much empathy for the guy. He wussed out of basic training. Yeah. Never forget that. Yeah, we tried to convince him to stay. You know, we were almost done. There was like 10 days left, and Posey was his name. He wanted to go home to Mama in Kentucky, and so Posey went home to Mama in Kentucky. It was so sad to see. He'd almost finished basic training, but you can opt out. You can go, and he opted out and went. So he never served, essentially. Did all that for nothing. Yep, Posey was his name. Yep, I'll never forget that. It was loaded. If my dad found out, yeah, you would have been, yeah. Never have the thinking of shooting anything. No, I can't even own a gun because of my mental health. I'm so sorry to hear that, Hester. You can't own a gun. That's terrible. Yep. Every battalion has stories located next to the Kruger. We had a buffalo break through the fence into the camp. Well, there you go. Yes, we ran the 2.4 in 2 minutes. Fire and move training. Oh, okay. Cool. Ian McCallum was left-handed. Forgotten weapons, hugely knowledgeable. Okay, thank you for that. 3 guys playing around with a hand grenade in their dorm room. Oh my gosh, Garrett. Yeah, well, look, I don't fear many things, but I'll tell you one thing I fear is a grenade. I do. That was the one thing that in basic training that I not feared, but I had a lot of trepidation about grenades. And you see the movies, all that stuff. That is nothing, man. Until you toss a live grenade, which was part of basic training. Apparently, after I did it, they stopped doing that. I don't know if they still do it, but part of basic training, you had to throw a live grenade. You did practice grenades. You did them all the time. They're dummies. They're just, the inert things with no charge in them. And you run up and you do the motion because it's a specific motion. You don't throw it like this. You don't throw it like this. You drop to one knee for bracing yourself. You extend your arm like this. Not a Nazi salute, but you extend your arm like this so that you can throw it over the shoulder like this and get the most distance out of it. And there's a lot of advantages to that. If you're turned sideways like this, you present less of a target than straight on like this when you can be hit by bullets. But if you're under fire and you're aiming, you use your arm as an aiming and balancing out the front and you throw it over the top like that, you get much more distance and accuracy out of it. When I did the live fire grenade after all the practice rounds, you throw it, you hit the ground, you wait for it to explode. Oh my God. I've had artillery rounds explode near me and I didn't feel the same concussion I felt from that grenade. That grenade was unbelievable. And I was like, whoo, I don't want to ever have to throw grenades in combat. That would suck. True story. Kokomar was a psycho case. We did live fire training on the shooting range. He shot some rank. He was sent to, I don't know what that is, prison, I guess. Hadn't shot a gun. Yeah, exactly, Fleshin. Well, he was a black guy from an urban center, and that's why he never fired a gun. But yeah, how can you be from Kentucky and never fired a gun? True story there, folks. Not making it up. Not making it up. Crazy stuff. Yep. Anyway, it was loaded. Okay. Buffalo are dangerous. Yeah, no, buffalo. Okay, so the most dangerous creatures in Africa are not lions. They're not leopards. They're not what you think they are. The most dangerous, the 2 creatures that kill more people in Africa every year are buffalo and hippopotami. They're the most dangerous. They kill more humans every year than anything else. Maryland jumped in with hippopotami. Yep. Those are the 2 most dangerous creatures that account for the most fatalities of humans on the continent every single year. True story. Okay. South African Infantry Battalion. Kokomor 7, SAI, Palabora, 85 to 87. Okay. 85, I was a sergeant, 1985, and all the way through to 87. Yep. And then 87, 89, I was still a sergeant in the Ohio National Guard before I went back on active duty. Yeah, boy. True story, folks. Anyway, yep. Yeah, so fire and movement training. Anyway, folks, we've been at this for an hour and a half. It's time to wrap up. Thanks for coming in for the early broadcast. I do appreciate that. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the super chat revenue. Let me go back and make sure I give credit for everybody for super chat, because I did mention them, but let's just make sure that we got that covered for today. Super chats. Okay, so today, come on, where are we at here? There we go. Okay, for today is the 7th. Oh, we just have the one from Andrea Fick. Well, thank you for that. I thought we had more than one. Thank you for that one super chat. I did recognize that. Thank you so much for that. Cool beans. We got nothing yesterday. Oh, cool. All right. Thank you for that, Andrea. Really do appreciate that. I'm sorry that I didn't realize it was just the one. Wow. So let's check on something here real quick. Very quickly here. Okay. All right. That's not bad. For a week, let me see. We had 156 earlier. So anyway, not a lot of viewership today and this week, but that's because the odd hours, I'm sure, and also not preparing videos. State of the Nation address tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have time to cover it. Depends on how successful today is. And then hopefully I can let you guys in on the, not secret, but what I've been up to of late. It's legal. Don't sweat anything. Sorry, just got on. Hey, Mike, no worries. Yeah. Send me a text, Mike. Share something with you. All right. Anyway, 1st Para Battalion 8182, says George. Okay. All right. And Chris Marie says, thank you. No one wants to believe we share training with 32nd. I'm not surprised. Not surprised. They just don't want to admit it. All right, folks. Thank you. God bless. Have a lovely evening wherever you're at. And tomorrow it's the State of the Nation address in South Africa, where Munir Palapala will tell South Africans that the ANC is ascendant, the economy is sound, despite the fact that R1 trillion have left the country. $62 billion plus dollars. Much of it during his reign as incompetent president of the Republic of South Africa. And he will announce within 15 days, 14 days now, 2 weeks, the election date for this year. And we saw the Ipsos poll, which I have not seen why, but apparently Morning Shot, Roman Cabanach has savaged that poll, saying it's, I guess, inaccurate or invalid. I don't know what the case is, but I guess we'll find out. If you get a chance, go watch Morning Shot and see why they say that there's problems with that poll. Anyway, 3,600 people is a pretty large sample, so I'm not sure what the issue was, but I have an issue with the fact it was conducted over 5 weeks. That's not an accurate assessment of a sentiment at the moment. The sentiment at the moment would be over 72 hours, worst case. Anyway, thanks, folks. We'll catch you later. Be safe out there. I've got lots to do today. Time to hit the road. But here's the poll real quick again before we leave. Party choices, according to Ipsos poll, which was finished on December 1st, so now a couple months old, said the ANC would get 40.5%, the DA 20.5%, the EFF, surprisingly, 19.6%. And apparently Morning Shot says that's not valid. I want to go find out why they said that and see what they've got to say. So I'll check it out myself when I have a chance. Catch you guys later. Be safe out there. God bless, and have a lovely night and day if you're here in the States.